Let's see if we can find a control room or a button or something that can get this door open, I said as I rubbed my nose. The too dry air was starting to make my nose all scratchy. We found out in pairs, me with Lacuna. The poor alicorn was in such distress that she finally just dropped the gun. I grunted as I lifted it and slung it across my back. How the heck does she fight with a weapon like this? I felt panic nibbling at my spine as the slow creep of death worked its way inside me. Every minute, the rad meter crept a little higher. I didn't think we had enough radaway to get out of here. It was like suffocating. And that's a pretty deep hole, I muttered as we came to a raw rock wall with a diagonal shaft ascending even deeper into the earth. It looked like the factory had been expanding, or something. Power cables plugged into the earth along a metal stair. I felt an unnerving sensation of being drawn into the hole, despite the fact that the breeze blew out from it. I heard the slow shuffle of cards in my mind. Okay. I definitely didn't want to go down there. "Blackjack! I think I need you!" P-21 shouted from within the factory. Lacuna seemed in such a daze that I sighed and nudged her. "Stay here. I'll be right back." I trotted along with the dealer following behind me. "What are you doing?" "I don't have time for crazy. I have enough scary." "Some ponies are looking for you," he said softly. "Lots of ponies are looking for me," I said crossly as I looked around at him. "It's been a running theme these last few weeks. Deus, Sanguine, now zebras. I'm sure that any second now the Zodiacs are going to appear too." I was so glad that my paranoia was giving me a memo. "If you don't mind, though, I'm in a hurry." It took me a minute to find him in some sort of control room. "I think that you might be able to unlock the door." You are the one that knows terminals, P-21. "Not me," I said warily, looking at the screen. EC-1101 authorization pending. It wants EC-1101. Did that mean that this factory had something to do with one of the projects? Or was it something else? I don't know, but it looks like all the controls are shut down until it receives a signal from EC-1101, P-21 said as he worked the controls. That includes the door. "Okay, so how can I do this?" I asked as I lifted the pip buck. "Go to your broadcaster and see if you can contact the Robronco terminal. I'm hoping that just contacting the locked program will be enough to access the system. Otherwise, we're just dying in here." I accessed my pip buck and opened the broadcaster function. "Oh, wow, that's a lot of Robronco terminals. And Hoofington Defense terminals. Hoofington Stable-Tech Networks." Then my eyes widened. OIA access node? I glanced at P-21 as he typed on the terminal, trying to do whatever he needed to do to get us out of here. I selected the access node. EC-1101, access required. Proceed? Yes. No. Yes. "Are you sure you want to do this?" the dealer asked, the old buck staring hard at me. I glared at him as I pressed yes once again. EC-1101 flashed, and gobbledygook and strange numbers scrolled past faster than I could see. Then my pip-buck went black. P-21? I tried to hide the rising panic in my voice. Then the lights went out in the facility. The ventilation fans stopped running. The silence that settled became overwhelming. Then a long, deep, unnatural voice crackled through the air. "You!" Every monitor in the control room flashed on, each one showing a staring eye, each one looking at me as that voice crackled through the countless speakers echoing throughout the facility. "EC-1101, give it to me!" What the hell? What the hell is that? P-21 shouted as he staggered back. Why was the room turning green? A green light began to replace the darkness, as green electricity crackled along the walls and machinery. The engines began one after the other, but instantly began to scream and smoke. Alarms started to ring out as the monitors showing these staring eyes popped one after the other. The wires within were moving. "Running! Running now!" I screamed as I scrambled out with P-21 and Rampage. I had no clue where we were running to. All around us, the machines were going crazy. At first, I thought that they were going to start making killer robots, but then I saw the machines weren't making anything. They were moving. A housing burst apart and a metallic guts spilled out, rearranging themselves and creeping towards us. Green light flickered and danced along the writhing mechanical surfaces as they formed claws and tendrils. "Give it to me!" The 1,000 voices screamed at once. That was a face. The machines were forming a massive pony face. It was slowly pushing out of the machinery, as if the gargantuan monster was being birthed from the equipment. Green light blazed from its eyes as it opened its mouth and vomited dozens of electrical cables and crackled and snarled at us. We weren't getting out the door. The door was becoming a part of it. There was a screaming of metal as the entire assembly line lifted like an immense skeletal hoof towards us. I felt cables snaking around my legs. There was nowhere to run. Every part of the factory had become a part of the abomination. My friends screamed and struggled, but our weapons were nothing. I didn't think that a missile launcher would help us against this thing. But something else might. I reached into my pouch and withdrew the massive pistol, cracking open the breech. The silver bullet hovered in front of me, and the abomination froze. Its green eyes widened with shock. You dare use that?" In reply, I slammed the bullet into Folly and clacked it closed. Instantly, the cables tightened, the lightning coursing along them, burning me through my barding. "Die!" it screamed through 1,000 electrical mouths. "You first," I gasped. I glanced at my pip-buck, seeing it activate once more. I levitated the pistol and activated SATs. Once more, strange arcane marks appeared on my EFS as the weapon interfaced with my pip-buck. I waited impatiently in the magical stasis for the words to appear in my vision. "Pip-buck synchronization complete. Blood pattern analysis confirmed. Warning, biomagical pattern contamination at 25%. Please seek immediate medical attention. Magical field analysis confirmed. Warning, estoic threshold exceeded by 98.9%. Authorization confirmed. Warning, BBP loaded. BGP armed. Do you wish to fire? Yes. No." I had no choice. Firing. The magical field spread over all of us, holding us in place and stopping that horrible constriction. The abomination reeled back, raising its forelegs as if it was a pony trying to shield itself. The world disappeared into a roar of light. I choked and gasped, feeling half dead as I sucked in the smoky air. My whole body screamed in protest as I sat up and stared at the collapsed half of the room. Nothing remained but slightly glowing rubble. I had electrical cable wound around half my body, but I was able to carefully detangle myself as I looked around for my friends. Scotch Tape was in a bad way. She'd curled up completely, staring straight ahead with her hooves clamped over her mouth. Glory wasn't much better, rising on her trembling and shaking hooves. Rampage was more together. At least she wasn't shaking. P-21 simply looked right at me and asked, "What did you do?" I raised my hoof defensively. "Hey, don't blame me for summoning that thing. I just used DC 1101 to access the terminal. I have no idea what that thing was." I looked at the melted rock and tried to take a step. My legs felt like rubber. Not weak, soft. I almost didn't want to take another step for fear that it'd bend. As I was trying to keep myself together, we still had to get out of here. One problem. No doors. "Lacuna!" I shouted, praying that the alicorn could stand. I had no idea where we'd get her out if she couldn't. Fortunately, the purple alicorn stepped out of the gloom on steady legs. There was a staticky crackle inside my head that made me wince. Then she swallowed. Her mouth opened, and she said in a surprisingly high and thready voice, "Impressive." "Thanks. I aim to please," I said, trying to joke through my panic. "We need to keep going. We need to get out of here. Now." At this point, I wished we'd tried to swim across the river. Hell, I'd have happily blasted my way through the Rangers, signed up with Big Daddy. Goddesses. I could feel my bones bending with each step. I drew a desperate gasp to hide my panic as I stretched down to shake Scotch tape. She only whimpered and curled up tighter. I looked down at the others, then said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Lacuna, but I can't carry her and your gun and ammo." "It is only a gun," the Alicorn replied simply. I shrugged the minigun and ammo drum aside and carefully laid Scotch tape across my shoulders. I should have left her with the Crusaders. Why had I let her come with us? I took a step, feeling the give in my bones. Another. "Are you okay?" Glory asked me, her injured wing dangling beside her uselessly. It was a phenomenally silly question. Right now, none of us were okay. "You betcha," I said with a grin. "Right as Wayne. Just a little wobbly-legged." I forced myself to keep smiling. And step, 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 in the only direction we could. Down. Stairs were not high on my thing of lists that I wanted to try right now. I slumped against the guardrail the whole way down. While my legs could support me, they felt as if they might buckle at any wrong step. I did all that I could to not drop Scotch tape. Glory walked with slow, pained noises as her bloody wingtip dragged alongside of her. P-21 was slumped against Rampage. Lacuna seemed capable only of walking. She moved like a zombie as we continued down, and down, and down. And I heard the screaming. It wasn't a scream as if from a pony's throat. It was almost like the memory of a scream that I couldn't get out of my head. And this wasn't a single pony. It undiluted and rose and fell, and it was mixed with hysterical laughter, babbling, crying, and pain. I couldn't shut it out, or shut it up. Scotch tape whimpered on my back, shaking. She'd broken at the sight of the abomination. What was a little more grievous psychological damage? It'd almost be more merciful if I just let her die down here. I misstepped and staggered, my legs giving out beneath me as I smashed my face against the guardrail. Stars swirled in my vision as I struggled to catch myself. Fortunately, I hadn't dropped her. I slowly took a deep breath and stood. Then, I proceeded to beat the ever-loving snot out of myself for daring to ever think that. Security saves fucking ponies. And even though I had fucked up, and fucked up, and fucked up, I would die first, before I ever kill her in some fucked up gesture of mercy. I could swear I could feel Rampage's eyes on me, and I was suddenly very glad she was a filly. Too old or not, I wouldn't be leaving her alone with Scotch tape again. Why were there stars underground? In the wan light of my pip-buck, I saw countless motes of shimmering light below us. Step by step we descended, closer and closer to the lights. Not stars. These were moving. "What the?" I rasped, then coughed, tasting blood in my mouth as I stared at wonder ahead of me. The cavern was roughly triangular in shape, perhaps 100 feet higher or longer than I could see. Buildings of ghostly white stood silently in cracked decay. All around us swirled and drifted countless glowing motes of shimmering gold. They floated in and out of the stone at random. A flat plane of dark water reflected the countless floating lights. Knowing my luck, I'd plunge into a hole and drown. Step by step, I walked forward between the smashed and crumbling buildings. A tiny mote drifted across my horn.